What's up everyone, welcome to RC Robotics. My name is Carl, I'm your host, and today we are talking about the great drone at Gatwick. So here's hoping everyone had a fantastic Christmas and a fantastic New Year. Now, leading up to Christmas, the few weeks before Christmas, towards the end of December, we've seen this massive story in the news, which was the drone at Gatwick, or if there was a drone to begin with. We don't know, because everything has been speculation through the media. So now, today we're going to talk about it. I have a few articles here on my phone which I have saved, because they were just the creme de la creme of just stupidity. So the first screenshot I have is a Gatwick drone. Latest police say it is possible there was never a drone to begin with. Now, what they're basically saying is everything we've said, we've speculated. This is all come from us. We're the media source. The problem with the media source is people don't see that the media as just an entity that this is the business that they do, and they're in the money of if they don't make something that makes you want to either click on an article or buy a newspaper or buy a piece of their media, then you're not going to want to do it. So if they were to put something boring, like there may possibly not be a drone at Gatwick at all, but there are reports of it, then you're not going to click on it. So they put these huge big bold letters, there's a drone at Gatwick, we're all in danger, we're gonna die. Scared? Are you scared yet? No? There we go. So I know I sound a bit like a tinfoil hat here, but just stay with me and stick with me, because this whole thing was unravelling and unravelling every single day, and the juice, the stock that came from this story, it was just beautiful. So, an officer investigating the chaos at Gatwick Airport says there is no footage of the supposed drone, and it is a possibility that there never was one. That's a shock. Asked about speculation, there was never such a device over the airport, he said. Of course that's a possibility. We are working with human beings saying that they have seen something. Now, I don't know who made there's been no report of who was the first person to say, there's a drone in the sky. So was it Gatwick Airport themselves? Was it a passenger? Was it a passing public? Someone in a car maybe? A police officer? We don't know. It's not been given out the information who it was that first reported the drone in the first place. So this is our first little pin of suspiciousness in the whole story. Until we've got more clarity around what they've said, the detail, the time and the place, direction of travel, all those types of things, and that's a big task. Now what they said there is, until we've got more clarity around what they've said. Who said? You haven't said who said, what said, or what's been said, when's been said. You haven't said who said it. That's the first place we should start with. Who said it? Because then we can fact check. Did you say this? When did you say this? And what did you actually say? Because if they have actually seen something, then genuinely, people in the drone community want to stop these type of people from irresponsibly flying drones. Now, it makes no sense why someone from a drone hobbyist or someone from the drone community would want to fly their drone over Gatwick Airport. Even if you wanted to get some nice shots of an aircraft taken off, if you do that, you're properly, you need to check your captain and your head shit because he's drunk at the wheel. But if you were going to do that, you could do that from 5 miles away from the airport and watch a plane take off. Or you could hold a camera on a long stick. You wouldn't need to fly a drone over there and risk putting yourself in jail. Now, the next part of this was, I had a hard time thinking, am I going to make a video about this guy? Am I going to show any pictures? And I completely, I decided not to show any pictures of this guy, not even say his name. Everyone knows who he is, everyone knows what his name is. I'm not going to say his name because, in my opinion, that would be doxing him. That's what the media have done to him. Before knowing any of the facts, they've gone round his house, taken pictures of him off his Facebook profile, of his missus off the Facebook profile, and just plastered them everywhere. So if you've seen the articles, what his face and what his name was, the poor guy had his house turned over by the police. The picture I have here, I could show it if I wanted to, but I'm not going to show it because he's made it very clear that he doesn't want any of the attention. Good on you, lad. But the problem here we've got is the police took a picture of what can only be described as an MD-500. It's a scale fuselage, what looks like a Raptor 50 inside. Now, if you're not familiar with radio-controlled model aircraft, a Raptor 50 is a model that was built and was big and popular maybe 15 to 20 years ago. We're going quite on now. So the picture that they've shown in the media is a helicopter. It's a radio-controlled helicopter, and they made sure. What I can see that they've done, the police have gone around the house. They've been looking for a big, scary drone. Let's find the largest drone we can find. Take a picture of that and say this is the big, scary drone that's been flying over Gatwick. Now I'm guessing the post that this guy's been making on our drone forums, things like that. It looks like he's only into the mini quads, so things that are smaller than this quadcopter here. So if the police took a picture of that and showed that, number one, the whole drone community would go, well, of course this thing isn't been flying over Gatwick Airport, because they can only fly for about 90 seconds to 1 minute 20 seconds. The batteries are really small. This thing was apparently up for a few, half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it was up for. It's not possible for these drones to fly for that long. These are what we call racing drones. Or this isn't a racing drone, but this is a racing drone. So this is what they're basically saying. This is what the 90% of the drone community, this is what we're flying. It's 280, 220, 180 sized quadcopters. These things weigh anything from 150 grams to 280 grams to, all the way up to a kilo. These can weigh. They can go around about 95 to 100 mile an hour, but they'll do this for 2 minutes to 2 minutes 30 seconds. They're not going to be staying up for half an hour at a time doing any kind of surveillance like that. Also, the video feed on these, because they've only got one small camera in them, they don't have, unless you have a run cam split in there, you don't have an HD camera in there whatsoever. So what you're seeing on the goggles is it's very, very grainy. You can't do any kind of surveillance to it, and it's not like a camera that you can tilt and pan and do this, that and the other. It's fixed. So if you want to look down, the quadcopter's physically got to, the quadcopter's physically got to turn down like that, so the camera is pointing. The camera's completely fixed otherwise. So it rules out a racing drone. If there was a drone at Gatwick, then it was a huge industrial-sized, rig. It must have been to evade the police. Apparently there was a somewhere I seen on the internet. I don't know if it was true or not. I don't know if it was from the police or the public, but someone said that they'd seen the drone had been spotted at 8,000 feet. Now, to get a drone up to 8,000 feet, you need serious amount of power, serious amount of technology on board, a GPS and things like this. Otherwise, the wind and things like that that's happening at 8,000 feet could just take a normal sized UAV, Phantom or anything like that. They'd be gone, and by the time you descended, you'd be maybe 2 or 3 miles from where you actually physically went up. So it'd have to be a large rig with a very, very good GPS system on it. Now this poor guy and his missus were dragged out of the house. A few little points I want to make up on. There's a picture here of both of them. Doesn't look like this is when they were being released. This looks like when they've been arrested. Now, what I can see, 2 things I can see, is the pair of them aren't in handcuffs. So this leads me to believe that the police either didn't put them in handcuffs because they'd come quietly and they said, is it possible for us to come to... I don't know the rules with police arresting people, but every time I've seen someone been arrested in town or in work, they've always wore handcuffs. These 2 people haven't got any handcuffs on. Number 2 is what I can also see is that there's a picture of a van and a police car, and they're sort of parked nose to nose, and it looks like it's in a residential street. It looks like this picture has been taken the second that these 2 people have been arrested and brought out of their homes. Now, let's think. For that picture to be taken, that means the media were tipped off. The media were told, we're going to arrest these people. We're going to this house, we're going to this location, and we're going to arrest these people. And then the media stood outside their houses waiting for the police to come. So that means the only person or the only people that would have that information is the police themselves. So I don't know if that's allowed, if they're allowed to tip off the media, but if that is the case, Sussex police, that's naughty. That's seriously naughty. I mean, he's a very naughty boy. Naughty's not the right word for it. That's the word you give to a 3-year-old. But what I just can't fathom. I cannot fathom how the media have got outside someone's house, knowing that they're about to be arrested, and so they can take a picture of them and post it, plaster it all over the internet, So now, your average Joe, I'd like to put on that no one in the UAV community, I've seen anyway, suspected this guy whatsoever, because we've all got the ability, when we go on our forums, if we type the person's name in that's been named as the drone pilot, we typed his name in, and all sorts of posts that came up that he's made, asking how do I fix a 280 model, how do I set this up, how do I bind this. Now these are, not amateurish questions, but if you're just starting off into FPV, if you're just starting off into quadcopter racing, these are the questions you're going to be asking. So it's it's good chance that this guy hasn't been flying a giant military size, maybe industrial sized UAV over Gatwick Airport. Now it's showing that there's probably never was a drone whatsoever. Then there was a few other reports saying Birmingham Airport is now closed. Air traffic control faulty apparently. Probably the same one closed at Gatwick. They didn't want it to fess up to it. And sure enough, they've shown. Can I get that on my phone? They've shown the planes were indeed, circling Gatwick Airport. And today there's been even more reports of Heathrow Airport being shut down. Now the only thing that shows with this is that Heathrow, Gatwick, and all these airports have all been having system failures, where it seems like throughout the busy months, Christmas and New Year's, where their systems have been failing because maybe the systems just physically cannot handle the pressure of so many people coming through. So the whole story just does not make sense. There's not one bit of the story that makes sense. Why would a UAV pilot want to fly a drone over Gatwick? They wouldn't. And then you go into the story, and the juice that comes off this next bit of the story was just mwah. So basically, Gatwick Airport was sold 2 days after all this drone stuff happened. 2 days after it happened. £2.9 billion. That's not suspicious at all, is it? I mean, this is what we need for this segment, because there we go. This is just getting silly now. I cannot understand why somebody would want to do this. The only real explanation that you can put through is that someone has deliberately tried to devalue Gatwick Airport. I don't know why. There's, for us to speculate, we would be no better than the media. And I'd like to think myself as better than the media, because we like to get all the facts as they come through and then make a rational decision on what has happened and why it has happened this way. On the fact that there is tighter drone regulations coming in at the end of 2019. Now, people have been calling this a false flag, and it possibly could be a false flag. And what's that mean? Now, basically what that means is that it's not in the government's interest for us, the plebs, to have better technology than them. Now, back in the day, it was when technology gets released, it's made basically for war. War is the mother of all invention, because we as humans only ever seem to be doing our best work when we're trying to blow each other up, right? So we get the best technology that comes from the military. The military then use that technology for maybe 20 to 30 years, and then after they're done with it, they go, right, what can we do with this technology? Well, we can make it into civilian technology, and we can take it apart and we can market it towards the civilians then as it becomes obsolete to us. So that's what they do. They physically have people whose job it is to take military equipment and see how it could work in the civilian world. Now, this happened throughout years and years, and with drones, eventually it's come to the point where the civilians have been doing more and more work than the military. So it's the civilians that have been doing testing and making sure that drones can run longer, drones can run quieter, drones can get better cameras and better video feed and all this. And instead of the military giving us that technology, it's flipped round now, and we're giving the military that technology. So the problem with this is that we the plebs aren't smart enough to even do our own taxes. So it's not in their interest for us to have drones, things that we could surveil them with, things that we can basically take back control, if you like. It's the whole timing of everything. I know it all seems tinfoil hatty, right? It all seems a bit too far-fetched, but it's the timing of everything. It's the fact that the regulations are coming at the end of this year, and all these drone reports, what it seems to me is that not enough drone pilots have been irresponsible for them to say, we need to ban drones, we need to make these regulations so tight on drones that no one can have it. And you know what you're going to do? Do you know what you're going to do? You're going to end up, you're going to end up making drones illegal. But probably that will be their end game, making drones illegal. Now let's look at some other things that are illegal. Let's look at drugs. 1957 is when the Drugs Act came in. And since 1957, the government has been on the war on drugs. And have you been getting anywhere with it? No, not really, because they're still readily available on the streets, they're still readily available in jails, they're still readily available in schools. What are you going to have? People in the middle of the street. What you got there, boy? After some, you got any of them 2202 motors, mate? Eh? 22s. What are we going to do about this? Because it looks like it's only going to be getting worse and worse and worse. Is there anything we can do? I don't think so. It's literally just going to become to the point where we are made into criminals for flying drones. Let's hope we have a good flying year in 2019 and hope that not too many people are going to be out there to get us. If they are out there to get us, then I ask you guys, stick together, stay smart, stay awake, ask questions. Thank you very much. Bye.